Welcome to a new week that begins right here, right now on the morning after, live on Sports Grid and Sirius XM, channel 159. That's the home for Sports Grid Radio on Sirius XM, all across the Spiz Grizz network. That's Sports Grid. I am Ben Stevens. Hope you had a wonderful weekend where football was front and center. The start of the 2022 college football campaign will have everything you need to know from week 0, including the hottest seat in the country in Lincoln, Nebraska. It was, of course, also the final week of the NFL preseason. Last week, before we get to the regular season, where all of our attention focuses on the games that actually count. But throughout preseason, what are we trying to figure out? The X's and O's, the depth chart for all 32 NFL teams, and of course, that main focus from a positional standpoint, the quarterback spot. And that has been the case for the Pittsburgh Steelers all preseason long. Steel City Sunday last night for Pittsburgh, and they finish off the preseason a perfect 3-0. A 19-9 win for the Steelers over the Detroit Lions in their third and final preseason game. And for the third week, we saw all three quarterbacks for the black and gold out there. Mitchell Trubisky got the start for Pittsburgh and played pretty much the entirety of the first half, and he looked really, really good. 15 of 19, 160 yards, and a touchdown. Honestly, probably the best he has looked all preseason long. But Kenny Pickett right behind him, 10 of 14, 90 yards. The only game this preseason, the number 20 overall draft pick from the 2022 NFL Draft by Pittsburgh, has not thrown a touchdown. Oh yeah, George Pickens also out there as a wide receiver, 3 grabs, 35 yards. Mason Rudolph didn't get all that much time yesterday, 0 for 3, but he should be in that quarterback room all year long for the Steelers. Mitchell Trubisky seems like he will be that week 1 starter, but Kenny Pickett is hot on his heels right now. And if Kenny Pickett, sometime early on in the 2022 NFL regular season, gets the nod as the starter for Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers, pay attention to that price for Pickett to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, because it will fall, and it will fall drastically. Right now, he is a co-favorite alongside his rookie Pittsburgh Steelers teammate, that wide receiver in George Pickens we just mentioned, who had 3 grabs again for 35 yards in the Steelers preseason finale. Both of them at plus 900. Now, you won't see these prices or these names up there, but quarterbacks, of course, always a focus in the National Football League. And rookie QBs through the preseason, this is their time to shine and make some early impressions. Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis. Ridder for the Falcons, Willis for the Titans were great all preseason long. Desmond Ridder in his preseason finale, 14 of 21, 185 yards, a touchdown, but 2 interceptions. Malik Willis, incredibly efficient. 15 of 23, buck 31 through the air, a touchdown and an interception, and showed off the dynamic nature of how he plays quarterback. 79 rushing yards as well. Right now, Desmond Ridder, 25-1 to win NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year. Malik Willis is 50-1 because we're not sure when they might play throughout their rookie campaigns. Although I do believe there is a chance that Des Ridder does become the starting quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons some point throughout the 2022 NFL regular season. So those are the rookie QBs, and Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Malik Willis. Joe Flacco is anything but a rookie quarterback, but looked kind of like a rookie yesterday in the Jets preseason finale in the Big Apple battle against the New York Giants. We'll recap that game in just a moment. First, we welcome in our Sports Grid Radio audience here, Sirius XM, channel 159, all of our terrestrial radio affiliates as well. I am Ben Stevens. Thank you for joining us here on this Monday on the morning after, recapping the preseason finale across the National Football League. Yesterday at MetLife Stadium, a battle of New York, the Jets and the Giants. And Mr. August Chris Streveler does it again. But it was Joe Flacco that got the start for the Jets in their preseason finale, a 31-27 victory. Joe Flacco played 4 drives for most of that first half, was 7 of 12 for 76 yards, threw an interception that was a pick 6 returned by the Giants. Then it was Mike White, and then it was that man you see there, Mr. August, Chris Streveler. Why do I call him Mr. August? Well, he leads another comeback victory for the Giants. He threw a game-winning touchdown on 4th and goal at the 5 with 22 seconds left for the Jets to prevail in that final preseason game, 31-27. This preseason, he had a comeback victory for the Jets in week number 1, a touchdown pass in the closing seconds of the game. In week number 2, the Jets were down 16-3. Chris Streveler enters the game, and he leads the Jets to a comeback. So what does it look like for New York football this year? We did not see the starting quarterback for the Giants yesterday in Daniel Jones. Of course, we await the return of the second-year QB for the Jets in Zach Wilson up in the press box yesterday, cheering on Chris Streveler in that late second comeback for the Jets. The Jets' win total this year is 5.5. The over has the juice at -145. The Giants' win total this year is 7.5. The under has the juice at -145. The Giants under in 5 straight years, and in 8 of their last 9. The Jets under in 5 of their last 6, and never had more than 7 wins in this 6-year span. There has been some conversation around the Giants that if Daniel Jones isn't the guy in this first year of Brian Daboll, it might be Tyrod Taylor. He left the game yesterday, carted back into the locker room after a big hit early in that game for the Giants against the Jets. We'll monitor his situation as we know more. We continue going around the final week of the NFL preseason. Up next, when Donnie Rightside gets into the mix here on TMA.
Your heart's racing. The clock's running out. It all comes down to this. We're talking pregame. 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 Get locked in with Game Time Decisions. Your hosts, Gabe Morency and Cam Stewart, will get you ready for game time. Everything you need to know before a game goes off the board, with the bet slips to back it up. Make your best bet with live odds updates, late breaking news, up-to-the-minute injury reports, and real-time analytics from inside the sportsbooks. All the odds, all the action, from sports wagering insiders and industry pros like Donnie Rightside, Cam Lou, Cousin Sal, the Pro Football Doc, Dr. David Chow, and more. Get the winning edge every weekday afternoon from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern, 3 to 4 Pacific. It's Game Time Decisions. Only on Sports Grid. The early line.
There's too many question marks for me, DRS. The talent drop-off that he is dealing with from those dogs over at Clemson and what OU is going to have on the defensive side of the football is quite a bit. Donnie, since when is OU not just filling out, right? At least first team all offense. That's just not the way this group lines up here. Too many question marks for me year one. The schedule's too easy to go under the 8.5.
Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
Where do you rank the Nets in the Eastern Conference? Are they a top 3 team, a top 5 team? Are they the favorites in your mind?
I think Boston's better than them. I think Philadelphia's going to be a resurgent team. Look for them to be better. And listen, folks, they don't have an easy start. New Orleans, Toronto, Memphis, Milwaukee, Dallas to begin the season. There's too many unknowns with this team. I think you go under 52.5 for the Nets.
The Sports Grid Network. Pharrell, coast to coast.
I think both the Braves and the Mets are playoff teams. They are 2 of the top 3 best teams in the National League, and quite frankly, neither of them are going to get the bye. The bye is going to the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are by far, not kind of the best team in baseball, by far a wide variety and margin the best team in Major League Baseball. They're going to get the bye, so one way or the other, the Mets are going to be in a situation that they're going to have to grind through all of October, as are the Braves.
The Sports Grid Network.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on Sirius XM Sports Grid Channel 159.
The preseason finale in the National Football League. Now, we are just 10 days away from the start of the 2022 NFL regular season, a week from Thursday night, at the site of Super Bowl 56 in the home of the Super Bowl 56 champion Los Angeles Rams, hosting the Buffalo Bills. The Bills a 2.5-point road favorite, but we have a week and a half to break that down. We need to set the regular season stage by looking back at the final weekend of the National Football League preseason. Helping us do that, it is Donnie Rightside here on a Monday on the morning after. DRS, one of the co-hosts of The Early Line each and every weekday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Eastern Time, alongside Kevin Walsh, and of course the lead host for the Money Line each and every weekday afternoon, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Sports Grid Radio. Donnie, which brand of football were you watching more of this past weekend? Was it college football week 0 or NFL preseason week 3?
I gotta say, overall, watch time was probably NFL week season or preseason week number 3. But I did catch quite a bit of that Nebraska Northwestern game and was entertained all the way through, Ben.
That was great theater in Dublin, and we'll talk about all of the potential ramifications of that game later on in this opening hour. But Donnie, let's focus on NFL preseason week number 3. On Friday night in Dallas, it was the Seattle Seahawks visiting the Cowboys. The intrigue around that game with the Seahawks, a touchdown favorite, was around the quarterback position. Head coach Pete Carroll said entering the game, they weren't exactly sure who the starting QB would be for the regular season, weren't exactly sure if week 3 would show them anything to make that final determination. Well, apparently something did. Geno Smith got the start on Friday night in the preseason finale. Geno Smith will get the start week number 1, 2 weeks from tonight at home against the Denver Broncos, because it was the Seahawks in that preseason finale, ultimately falling by 1 point, 27-26 to the Cowboys. DRS, Geno Smith got the start, but Drew Lock played a majority of that game well into the fourth quarter. He was 13 of 24, 171 yards, a touchdown, but 3 interceptions. What do you make of what Seattle made of this quarterback competition here in the preseason?
Yeah, it seems like they're about to shut that quarterback competition down after game 2 of the preseason when Drew Lock had COVID, missed some practices, missed that game. But you still said, I don't know exactly who my quarterback's going to be. Let's leave it up in the air so after week 3 of the preseason. And Drew Lock does what he does so many times here in a pressure situation. Give the football up 3 times in the preseason. So if you're looking for Pete Carroll and that front office to say, well, who are we entering into the season with? It's going to be Geno Smith. And after that performance, it's lockstep that it is going to be Geno Smith. Now, also, when you talk about, quarterbacks coming over like Drew Lock did from the Denver Broncos to the Seattle Seahawks, you knew Geno Smith had an extra year or 2 in that actual facility, being with the offensive coordinator, being with Pete Carroll. He had the edge in this one, but certainly Drew Lock, 3 interceptions. Can't do that, man. Can't do that.
This is his 9th season, for Geno Smith, that is, in the National Football League. We know a little bit more of that sample size for Geno Smith. Started his career in New York with the Jets. His best seasons in the NFL were with the New York Jets early on in his career. DRS, he's only played in 5 games, really, in the last 6 years. He did make 3 starts, though, last year in place of the injured Russell Wilson for the Seattle Seahawks. Geno Smith got the start on Friday night in the final week of preseason NFL football. And again, he will get that start week number 1. DRS, I think it was the idea of this quarterback competition, maybe that final hope for promise for the young Drew Lock against maybe somebody you had a little bit more reliability in Geno Smith. And when we look at Seattle now, DRS, entering this new season, it's a new era up in the Pacific Northwest. I have made this point numerous times. That win total of 5.5, it's a number the Seahawks have gone over in 12 consecutive seasons. What do you think the level of expectation, Donnie, should be for the Seahawks with Geno Smith in charge this upcoming year?
Extremely low, and we don't really know what the Seattle Seahawks were doing, because if we could just play, hey, fans take over the team, you would just tank and win 2 games, and you have some pretty good quarterbacks coming out in college football that you would assume would be your franchise quarterback. You're not necessarily trying to win games, so my old thought process was you bring Drew Lock over to start him and see what he is, because what happens if the light bulb does turn on for Drew Lock? He's got all the talent in the world, arm strong, moxie, everything you need to be an NFL quarterback, but he just doesn't make the right decisions. So if he wasn't making the right decisions, and wasn't your franchise guy. In turn, you probably lost a lot of football games, and you can get that higher draft pick. Geno Smith is more steadying here. Doesn't take your team to the upper echelon. They won't make the playoffs in Seattle. So for me, it's sort of a lost cause where the best season for the Seahawks is not winning any games at all, if that's possible.
That plus 540 number for the Seahawks to make the postseason, the second longest odds in all of the NFC. And again, week number 1 of the regular season is now where our attention goes. 2 weeks from tonight, the first Monday night football game of the year in 2022. Seattle welcomes back Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos, and the line actually working slightly against Seattle since the announcement of Geno Smith as the starting quarterback. It is now 6.5 in favor of the road team, the Denver Broncos, in front of the 12th man. All right, DRS, let's continue to go through NFL Week 3 of this preseason. Chicago looked pretty good in their preseason finale against the Cleveland Browns, namely in Justin Fields. His best performance by far this preseason, 14 of 16, 156 yards, 3 passing touchdowns, led scoring drives of 80 yards, 52 yards, and 62 yards. DRS, you know I'm a big Justin Fields believer. That was great to see to end out the preseason for the Bears.
No, it certainly was, and it gives you something to look forward to if you're a Bears fan outside of actually winning football games in 2022. Now, I'm going to beat home this point throughout the rest of the regular season as I see fit here with the Chicago Bears. It's a shame that Justin Fields isn't getting the other, I want to say, red carpet treatment from his franchise like some other young quarterbacks are. Tua Tagovailoa, now he's entering into a season where it's do or die, but you know what they did? Let's bring in a really good offensive coordinator and make him your head coach. Let's bring in one of the top, maybe the best, if not the best, big play wide receiver of the past decade in football in Tyreek Hill, and also match him up with the first-round pick Waddle on the opposite side. And then you take a look at teams like the Philadelphia Eagles and Jalen Hurts. This is a big season for Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles. What did they do for him? First-round draft pick Devontae Smith last year, trade for A.J. Brown this year, give him a great offensive line and say, hey, kid, go out there and earn it. Because if you are, we're going to help you, and we want you to be our franchise guy. Justin Fields got a defensive coordinator as a head coach and no help across the board from offensive line, tight end, or wide receiver. And they say, go out and make it happen. Now, having said that, last week, even with that game against Seattle that they played where they looked terrible, but you could see the maturation process here of Justin Fields. Bigger, faster, and stronger. He belongs in the NFL. It's just a shame, Ben, that Chicago's not giving him the pieces to actually excel in his second year.
DRS back in his prime would probably be the third best receiving option right now for the Chicago Bears.
I got 2 rounds.
And Justin Fields. Absolutely so. And that's the shame, Donnie. Sometimes it's the situation you're in as a young QB. Justin Fields about to enter his second year in the National Football League. Tom Brady is about to embark on year number 23. The 45-year-old DRS getting the start for the Bucs in their preseason finale against the Indianapolis Colts. He played that opening drive of the game. 6 of 8, 44 yards. Ultimately, though, it is not a win for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Donnie, how do you evaluate Tampa entering this season?
It's very hard for me to do, Ben, to be honest with you, because you want to trust that, overall, as you take a look, who's the best player in football? It's probably still Tom Brady. As a really talented football team, it's the Tampa Bay Bucs and Tom Brady. But I got to tell you, I'm off the bandwagon here. Something isn't right. From Tom Brady leaving for roughly 2 weeks in the middle of training camp to him taking the podium, basically saying like, boy, it's really hard at home and, stuff is tough out here, just to paraphrase from what he was saying. And, I'm pretty good at football and I'll be back on the field. Something isn't right for me. So for them winning a championship, could I see it? Absolutely. But this isn't one of those feel-good seasons here for the Buccaneers where I think they're all in. Something's up, and I can't put my finger on it, Ben.
It is very weird. The juice continues to work on the under of the Bucs win total that you saw there at 11.5. The Baltimore Ravens, perfect yet again in the preseason, DRS. 23 straight preseason victories. We go around Major League Baseball up next here on the Morning After.
Fantasy Sports Today.
Josh Jacobs, after winning the Offensive Player Rookie of the Year a few years ago, kind of been back and forth as far as his possibilities go. When he's on the field and he's running, he looks as good as anybody in the NFL.
For whatever reason, I don't know what his relationship is like with Josh McDaniels, but it seems like whatever they are seeing from him, they don't want him to be a full-time running back. So at the price that he costs, pretty much no way.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Paul Goldschmidt is minus 1450 to win the NL MVP award. The question is not whether this guy is going to win the NL MVP. It's can he get the NL Triple Crown?
He knows number 2, Nolan Arenado on the same team, 25-1. Arenado's not jumping him at this point, so Paul Goldschmidt looks like he locked this thing up.
Only on Sports Grid. The morning after.
Scott Frost in 4 seasons, just 6-17 against his divisional opponents. If they are going to win a Big Ten West title, if this is finally the year the offseason hype meets regular season results, it will happen through that division.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to beating teams like Minnesota, Iowa, and Wisconsin, and I'm not quite there yet. We'll see how it unfolds, but Nebraska's struggled with all 3 of those programs.
The Sports Grid Network.
You might be the next daily fantasy millionaire. No matter what you watch or where you play, learn from the world's best DFS players. Lineup building tools, expert projections, and advanced stats change the way you play the game. Dominate the competition. DailyRoto.com, the player's choice.
Sports Professor Rick Horrow inside the $1.3 trillion business sports with your Sports News Minute. Well, kudos to the WNBA. Their regular season average of over 400,000 was a 50% increase over last set of years and a high watermark of 800-some thousand for the last regular season game, highest since Candace Parker's debut game in 2008. It's a big deal for stability of the league, and certainly with the NBA backing it, with ESPN promoting it, with other platforms carrying it, and with superstars dominating it, it is another banner year for the WNBA. A few years ago, we constantly talked about survival, and we're clearly not doing that. Now women's sports elevates to an entirely new level as well. The WNBA takes its place and continues to grow. Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Sports News Minute.
Just over a month left in this Major League Baseball regular season. The hunt for October is certainly on, and that was the case this past weekend across Major League Baseball. Welcome back to a Monday, live right here on the morning after on Sports Grid and Sirius XM Channel 159. Alongside Donnie Rightside for a second straight segment, I am Ben Stevens. DRS Sunday Night Baseball last night after a small rain delay. The St. Louis Cardinals hosting the Atlanta Braves. A big weekend series, really, for both teams. The Braves trying to cut into the Mets' lead for that top spot in the National League East. The Cardinals trying to even more solidify their advantage in the NL Central. A 3-game set under the arch in St. Louis this weekend. The Cardinals win the final 2, including last night, coming from behind in that 8th inning for a 6-3 victory. DRS, 4 runs scored by the Redbirds in that bottom of the 8th. All courtesy of the long ball, and St. Louis wins 6-3, now a 6-game lead in the National League Central.
Yeah, good ball club there. The Cardinals certainly playing like it here, but also when you take a look in Major League Baseball, I actually hit an under yesterday in one of the games out west, but this game, 6-3 final. It should have been an easy one. If you had the under in this game, through 5 innings, Ben, nobody scored. Yep. You wrap that one up and you say, boy, oh boy, where am I spending my money the next day? And certainly goes up in flames. But getting back to the game itself here, Cardinals are good, 74-54 in the season. They made the appropriate moves at the deadline to improve their team from a pitching aspect, and it's worked across the board. Their lineup, lefty-righty splits, Ben, over the past 60 days versus any pitcher you can think of has been very good. That's a big-time win over the Braves. And also, take a look at one of those days where you knew the Mets lost earlier in the day with the Scherzer gem. You wanted to take control of that and get another game closer, but you weren't able to do that. But kudos to the Cardinals. They're headed to the playoffs.
Yeah, let's focus on St. Louis for a second here. Again, a 6-game lead now in the National League Central. The Brewers had the Cubbies over the weekend. You'd think they'd be able to make up some ground. They won the final 2 games of their weekend set as well, but they're now 6 games back of St. Louis. The Cardinals have won 12 of their last 15 games. The Redbirds have been one of the best teams here in the second half of this Major League Baseball season, and because of it, St. Louis is now minus 1,100 DRS to win the National League Central. They are also 10-1, Donnie, to win the National League. Their odds improving in the pennant market pretty much each and every day. Now the 4th best price. You see their odds to win the division. They will certainly be a playoff team one way or the other, probably hosting in that opening round of the Major League Baseball postseason. What do you give for St. Louis's chances, DRS, of making a deep run come October?
I mean, why not at this point? And also, you're trying to take a look at one of those teams, Ben, where you see so many times in Major League Baseball. Let's have a great April, May, and June, and July, half of July. We'll coast in. We're still the best team in our division, per se, but at the same time, we're not playing our best baseball. It looks like the Cardinals are playing their best baseball right now. And if we're going to get pitching, particularly from their starting frontline pitchers, anywhere close to what they're doing now, they have a legitimate chance because they have those power arms in the back end that I got to tell you again, that 1 through 9, they run out there every single day to match up with lefty and right-handed pitchers. They're very good. They can do some damage, and quite frankly, I guess you could say surprise in the playoffs and win a round or 2.
The Cardinals are a ball club that know this very position. At this time of year, just a number to keep an eye on. 10-1 now for the Redbirds, the 4th best number to win the National League. The Atlanta Braves, DRS, losing the final 2 games of that weekend set in St. Louis. Now 3 games back of the Mets, despite the fact New York somehow, someway lost the game yesterday at home against the Colorado Rockies. Max Scherzer on the bump, and Scherzer was sensational. 7 innings of work, only 4 hits allowed, 1 earned run given up. It was a sac fly that scored the only run of the game. Struck out 11 members of that Colorado lineup, and still, Donnie, the Mets lose 1-0. German Marquez, on the other side, shutout work in 7 innings of baseball, only allowing 1 hit to the Amazons. That's the reason why New York lost the game 1-0.
Yeah, Mets hurt me last week. I bet them twice there on a team total line. Came up lame in both of those games. They came up lame on Sunday. Now, I didn't bet their team total yesterday, but that's an indication of what's going to come. That's going to be tough here because anytime you have your aces on the mound, back them up a little bit, 2 to 3 runs.
Yep.
You'll pick up more victories than not. They weren't able to do that yesterday, but as I said, both the Phillies and the Braves lost, so not a huge loss from the Mets. And let's keep in mind the bigger picture. They played 4 games against a bad team with the Rockies. They went 3-1. That's what you're supposed to do. Did you want the 4th? Yes, but any baseball team, Ben, will say, if you have a 4-game set, you win 3 of them, take it every single time and move on.
A minus 450 favorite in the opening game of that 4-game set for Jacob deGrom on the bump against the Rockies. Scherzer close to a $3 favorite yesterday. The Mets still, though, maintain a 3-game advantage in the National League East, and New York's odds to win that division right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook, minus 550. The Mets have a much easier schedule down the home stretch of this Major League Baseball season than that of the Braves. So although it's only 3 games, it feels like a stronger cushion right now for the Amazons, who are plus 260 with the 2nd best price to win the National League pennant, over $1 behind the Dodgers right now, Donnie, because LA just keeps racking up wins. In fact, LA has won 6 of its last 8 games against the Marlins and the Brewers. And Donnie, the offensive numbers in those 6 wins have been ludicrous. 59 runs scored in total in those 6 wins. They have scored double-digit runs in 4 of those 6 victories. They've only scored 1 run, though, in the 2 losses combined. But the Dodgers, again, wrapping up a 4-game set against the Miami Marlins today. That offense has led the way for LA all year long, Donnie, and continues to do its part here in the home stretch of this season.
Which is why they're so dangerous. Usually when you get to the playoffs, Ben, you say, all right, I don't care about your offense. I don't care about anything else. Who is your frontline starting pitcher? Now, you look at the guys like Gonsolin that's going to show up and Anderson. They've had unbelievable records and have pitched way above their pay grade, quite frankly. But that lineup 1 through 9 does damage each and every night. How do you win consistently in the regular season? Have a very good hitting lineup, solid starting pitching, and a bullpen. How about this, Ben? 50 games over 500, the Dodgers are. That team is a wrecking crew, and certainly come October, we expect them to do big things.
The Dodgers, 88 138 this year. Their win total prior to the year getting underway, 103.5. It was around that number at the All-Star break. The Dodgers seem like they are going to scorch over that win total. And Tony Gonsolin, the Catman, getting the start for LA on the road in that 4-game set finale against the Marlins. The Dodgers are booked as a minus 230 road favorite. The Dodgers, Donnie, have a 6-game advantage over the Mets in the win column for the best record in the National League, a 9-game lead in the loss column. The Mets are tied for the second best record in the Bigs alongside the Houston Astros, who have that top spot in the American League and also in the pennant odds right now. Houston nearly 50 cents ahead of the New York Yankees at the moment, plus 155, that refresh number, following the weekend of action in MLB. The Yanks at 2-1, and as has been the case, Donnie, for pretty much the last 3-4 months of Major League Baseball, there's a substantial gap between New York and the third place spot, the Toronto Blue Jays, at plus 750. The American League pennant DRS still feels like a 2-team race. Do you agree with that idea?
It feels like it is right now. We're waiting for the Yankees to wake back up and start to take control, which looks like they might be able to do with Giancarlo Stanton back. They have a somewhat healthy pitching staff at this point. And also keep in mind, the Yankees sit at 78 wins on the season. The Houston Astros are at 82. So let's just say it's a 5-game gap that you have to overcome if you're the New York Yankees. Now, where does this leave the Houston Astros with a Justin Verlander injury on the mound, where we don't know how serious it is, but anytime you hear a calf injury with a pitcher, that's probably going to be at least a few weeks here. Maybe the Yankees can regain that magic from what they had from a winning perspective over the first half of the season to sort of close that gap. It would be nice to see, Ben, about a week and a half to go, those two teams within a game of each other fighting for that top overall seed here in the AL.
And the reason that's going to be so impactful is because of the idea that if Houston holds on to that top spot, that favored price makes even more sense, because in a potential ALCS series, it would be in Houston with that home field advantage for the Astros. And you can see that clear distinction in those odds right there for the American League pennant. It is seeming like the market is indicating that will be the American League Championship Series, the Houston Astros and the New York Yankees. But DRS, we're trying to figure out what's going to happen across the rest of the AL postseason picture. The American League wild card seems rather solidified at the moment with the Rays, the Mariners, and the Blue Jays, although the Orioles only a game and a half back. It's the American League Central that will get most of our attention here in the home stretch of this season. The Twins, a sweep over the San Francisco Giants at home this weekend. The Twins have carved their way back into the running for that top spot in the AL Central, Donnie, only trailing the Guardians by 2 games at the moment, riding this 3-game winning streak.
How about that? Twins and the Guardians, right? We thought this was going to be the Chicago White Sox easily pulling ahead. And what do the White Sox do with a chance, Ben, to get back in that division? Go out there and handle your business against the Diamondbacks. So what do you do at home? Yeah, you get swept by the Diamondbacks. And that's what we've gotten each and every game, it feels like, for the White Sox. But this will be a fun one to watch down the stretch. And also keep in mind, in this wild card race, still hanging around those Baltimore Orioles, only a game and a half back. They refuse to die, even if their front office tried to get them to die at the deadline.
About 35 games left in this Major League Baseball season. Does Baltimore have enough juice left in the tank to make a run? The Guardians still the odds-on favorites, though, to win the American League Central, despite just that 2-game advantage. It's minus 220 on your screen. Those updated numbers right now, as in a change in the last couple of minutes, the Guardians minus 180. The Twins at plus 220 behind them with the second best price, and the White Sox have lost 4 straight. They are now 7-1 to win the American League Central. All right, it's been nearly 40 minutes here on a Monday on the morning after. The first Monday following the start of the 2022 college football season, and we haven't even recapped week 0 of the CFB campaign. Don't worry. Donnie Rightside and I will do that next. What's happening in Nebraska? We'll discuss following the break.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
Justin Fields making his first ever start in the NFL, got sacked 9 times. And Matt Nagy didn't bother letting his running backs, chip blockers or take on pass rush responsibilities. And that is so irresponsible. You're going to see a lot of this coaching staff, hopefully, trying to use the traits of his that are special. And I think Fields will benefit from having a coaching staff that's a little smarter about how they use him.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
I think the Guardians are starting to command not just respect in terms of the Central race, but they really should be in the American League overall.
They probably figure, Kevin, well, let's just play 500 baseball the rest of the way. I don't think the Twins and the White Sox are good enough to put that into overdrive and overtake us at this point. So it's not one of those where, hey, look at our final schedule. We got 30 games left. We really need to go 20-10 to make the playoffs. They don't. Here you go. The Cleveland Guardians moving on in the playoffs.
Only on Sports Grid.
Pro Football Doc has found its new home right here with Sports Injury Central. And with that comes our expansion into other sports. Sports Injury Central will give you nonstop exclusive injury analysis from experienced team doctors from all 3 major sports. Doctors with resumes that include teams like the Chicago Bulls, the Texas Rangers, and the LA Chargers. So gain a fantasy, DFS, and betting edge right now for free at SICScore.com.
Sports Grid, your 24/7 sports wagering network.
They play less games.
The early line.
Take a look at the top 4 seeds here in the Big Ten. They're going to play
Aaron
less.
Rodgers and
the morning
Russell
after.
Wilson. We saw movement in the marketplace like
Fantasy Sports
the
Today.
Cleveland Cavaliers are a little thin as well.
Newswire.
Minus 160 favorite on the money line today for Arizona.
Pharrell Coast to Coast.
That's where they win cups. They win Stanley Cups over there. Give me the
Game
Penguins.
time
Kind
decisions.
of bizarre when you consider everybody is out for the Warriors.
In-game live all access.
I like Vandy against Bama. I think Vandy can win the game, take a 4.5.
In-game live, prime time.
The PGA champion.
In-game live, overtime.
All done before the final bet.
Get the winning edge. Only on Sports Grid.
What started in Bowling Green, Kentucky, also in the Emerald Isle of Ireland, that ended all the way out late on a Saturday night into early Sunday morning on the East Coast in the Hawaiian Islands, week 0 of college football. Welcome back to the morning after, live right here on a Monday on Sports Grid. I am Ben Stevens. Donnie Rightside is here as well yet again. We are juiced up to review the weekend that was, the opening weekend of the 2022 college football campaign. And Donnie, all eyes were on Ireland for the Dublin debut between Nebraska and Northwestern. The internet went down. The beer was free. The Guinness was flowing. And Scott Frost continues to find ways to lead his Nebraska Cornhuskers program to defeats, because that is what he did. A Dublin debut for 2022 becomes a Dublin debacle for the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Northwestern wins outright, 31-28, as a 12.5-point underdog. A total of 51.5 goes well over in Ireland on Saturday. And Donnie, the only discussion that really comes from this game is when Nebraska took an 11-point lead for the second time in the contest in the middle part of that third quarter. They scored twice within a 30-second span. They had all the momentum back on their side. They're up 28-17. And Scott Frost decides this is the moment to try a surprise onside kick that would have iced the game in his mind, with still 7.5 minutes remaining in the third quarter. A Dublin debacle, DRS. One of the dumbest coaching decisions I have ever seen. What was going through your mind watching that on Saturday afternoon?
Yeah, pure insanity, and specifically if you bet the Cornhuskers knowing you had to win by roughly 2 touchdowns, all momentum is back on your side. You kick it deep, you get a 3 and out, or at least force Northwestern to go on a 6-minute drive to score either a touchdown, kick a field goal, or just try to even flip field position. But the fact of the matter is you let them breathe. They got that onside kick. They were surprised. Oh, look at this. They gave us the football around midfield. Let's see what we can do. And, of course, what did they do? Go down and score a touchdown, eventually winning this football game overall. Now, we talked about coming into the game, right? Mark Whipple is going to have this offense ready to go. Look, the Cornhuskers are going to put up some points this year, but the question might be on the defense here, because how about the Northwestern offense? We're coming into the game. I'm saying to myself, they need to run the football, slow the clock down. They just can't compete. Well, how about their quarterback goes for 314 and 2 touchdowns, and also, Ben, almost 2 running backs. You had one guy in Hull go for 119 and Porter go for 94 yards. Who was the better offense? Which team was Mark Whipple actually coaching in this game from what we thought? Big time win for Northwestern, but also at the same time, where does Nebraska go from this, Ben? Because I joked about it earlier on the early line, and I said, you know what? Week 0, your season is effectively done already for the Cornhuskers. That's terrible.
When you look at the rest of Nebraska's schedule, their win total entering Saturday was 7.5. It's one game. It's week 0. Can they get to 7 or 8 wins? Does that save Scott Frost's job? It's year number 5 of Scott Frost's tenure in Lincoln, Nebraska. Donnie, I was there the day that Scott Frost was hired by Nebraska back in December of 2018. He is the prodigal son returned home from Wood River, Nebraska. His family are Cornhuskers through and through. Scott Frost was the quarterback of the last national championship winning team for Nebraska football during the golden era of Tom Osborne. That was back in 1997. I said on that early December Saturday in 2018, Donnie, that if it's not Scott Frost to return Nebraska to its glory, nobody ever will. Boy, was I wrong, because I thought Scott Frost should have been fired at the end of year number 4. They restructure his contract, they lessen the buyout, they bring him back for year number 5. And this is why this hot seat is burning, scalding hot in Lincoln, Nebraska right now. A 15-30 overall record, a 10-26 record in the Big Ten Conference, 6-18 against the Big Ten West, his own division, falling to Northwestern on Saturday in Ireland. And you see that damning final stat. In one-score games, Nebraska is 5-21 under Scott Frost. Nebraska has lost 12 games, DRS, dating back to the middle part of the 2020 season. All of those losses have been by single digits. It's been a combined margin of defeat of 72 points. Nebraska is the first team in the history of college football to have 7 straight losses, all by 7 points or less. They are historically good at finding ways to lose football games, but at the end of the day, they're still losing football games. And the hot seat is burning for Scott Frost and Lincoln.
No, it certainly is. And this was supposed to be the perfect fit, right? You see the conquering hero coming home after conquering their own quote-unquote national championship down at UCF. This was supposed to be in the next millennium. No more Tommy Frazier offenses. Thunder Collins, Amon Green, Lawrence Phillips. This was supposed to be the new age. 5 wides. Let's really ramp it up here. And it just didn't work out. If you would have picked one coach returning back to one program to make it return back to its prominence, you thought it was going to be Frost in Nebraska, and it's been nothing short than a disaster here, Ben.
And there is something in Scott Frost's contract that starting on October 1st, that buyout lessens even more. He will not be fired until that time because of the financial responsibility Nebraska owes him. But keep an eye on Scott Frost's situation in Lincoln and what might be a lame duck season for their head coach. Donnie, you mentioned it. He was supposed to be that offensive mastermind in Lincoln. He gave up offensive play calling responsibilities for the first time this offseason to Mark Whipple. And Scott Frost, after the game, said, we, as an offensive staff, might need to find more ways to be creative to win in this league. The only we, Scott, is you in the mirror and not making inept coaching decisions when your team has a 2-score lead. So Nebraska entered the year, DRS, with the second best price to win the Big Ten West, despite being a 3-9 football team in 2021. That is no longer the case in those updated Big Ten West divisional standings. Nebraska is well down this board right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook as we look at the Big Ten West right now. Those prices for the Huskers now at plus 750. Northwestern is 26-1 DRS, and we do need to highlight what the Wildcats did there at the end of the football game. 15 straight runs. A great punt to put Nebraska back, and then they intercept Casey Thompson for the second time of the day. Pat Fitzgerald knew Nebraska likes to cough up football games. He was going to make them come win it. He played Big Ten football. They were the more physical offensive side. They ran for 214 yards, and Northwestern starts out winning outright by 13.5 points. Elsewhere around the Big Ten West as well, DRS, Illinois, a big win at home against Wyoming. They close as nearly a 2-touchdown favorite. They cover that number of 13.5, winning 38-6. And DRS, your guy, Kevin Walsh, all over the Chase Brown rushing yards prop, 19 carries, 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, well over that number of 104 in a hook. DRS, you know it well. The Big Ten credo, established the run. Illinois, Northwestern did it very well on Saturday. Nebraska, not so much.
Yeah, right. Take a look at Illinois. You know, Brett Bielema coming over here wants to get that Wisconsin imprint. Big uglies on the offensive line, run the football, which they did, and also play good defense. How about Peasley on one side? 5 of 20 for 30 yards and an interception. The Illini handled their business here, much like Nebraska did not.
And Vanderbilt also handled their business in the Hawaiian Islands against the Rainbow Warriors. Vandy, Donnie, a team that has won 2 combined games the past 2 years, has already halfway to that win total. And their win total for 2022 of 2.5, a number I am on the over. I loved what I saw out of the Commodores late on Saturday night in Hawaii, off the mainland. Vandy, DRS, puts up 63 points, easily covering as a 9.5-point road favorite against the Rainbow Warriors of Hawaii. The Vanderbilt Commodores, Donnie, the highest scoring offense in all of college football at this moment.
I mean, if Vandy's dropping that many points on Hawaii, I want to see what Hawaii does the rest of the year, because now that we usually have the get-back game in Hawaii at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday, what are those totals going to be, Ben? 75.5? Get ready, ramp it up. People will be late betting on Saturday nights now with that Hawaii defense.
Donnie, elsewhere across the slate, week 0 on this Saturday that started off the college football season. 2 ACC teams in action. Florida State beats Duquesne by 40. The Seminoles do not cover as a 46.5-point favorite. UNC was a 44.5-point favorite against the shorthanded FAMU, Florida A&M, who we weren't sure on Friday afternoon, Donnie, if these two teams would play the opening Saturday of the college football season. They do. FAMU actually keeps that game pretty close through most of the first half. They cover as a huge underdog, but North Carolina does win 56-24. And Donnie, as we look at it right now in college football, one of the wackier divisions that we know is the ACC Coastal. Those odds not available on the FanDuel Sportsbook, but North Carolina entered with the 4th best price. Miami is the favorite to win that division in the ACC this year. Pittsburgh, who won it last year, has the 2nd best odds. And Donnie, just 2 days from now, the backyard brawl returns to our lives in college football. For the first time in nearly a decade, the old rivalry renews between Pittsburgh and West Virginia. The Panthers, a 6.5-point favorite. Donnie, this week, week number 1 of college football, we will see top 25 teams in action, including that backyard brawl. 17th ranked Pittsburgh, a 6.5-point favorite.
Yeah, and let's keep in mind, most of these teams obviously didn't play week 0, so week 1 is the first time they're going to lace them up, and some of these teams have some big games to get through. Keep in mind, they're college football players. They haven't played scrimmages. They haven't traveled around, to different parts of the country here, just getting their feet wet in front of crowds. It's fun to see how they're going to play right out, and don't be surprised. The live betting market at the FanDuel Sportsbook is so much fun week 1 because you will get scores like, oh my goodness, UConn's up 14-0. They're going to win this game. Yeah, only to get beat down in the back part of the second half. So a lot of fun to be had. But people are telling me the college football show on Saturday, heavy and maybe on location for Miami and Bethune-Cookman. Tell me, say it ain't so, Ben. Are you guys headed down to South Beach on a Saturday?
DRS, you paying for my flight? Because if so, I'm down. I'm going. I'll spend Labor Day weekend in Coral Gables. Come on now.
K-Dub spent all his money, though, on a sport jacket for that show on Saturday, so I don't know if he's got enough funds to get down there. So
he was looking pretty good. College football today, as DRS mentioned, each and every Saturday this fall, starting at 9 a.m. Eastern time. Myself, Kevin Walsh, Joe Lisi. I was wrong. Pittsburgh now more than a touchdown favorite. That line updating overnight. The Panthers laying 7 in a hook at home in the backyard brawl against the Mountaineers of West Virginia. Your producer, DRS, on the early line, Brian Rutkowski, a proud WVU alum, kind of. He won't deal for any Mountaineers slander. They're getting 7 in a hook. It's JT Daniels, the former USC quarterback, now starting for West Virginia against another former USC quarterback in Keaton Slovis, the starter now for Pittsburgh. DRS, on the early line today, you and Kev did your SEC preview, your favorite win total in the conference. Which program was it down south?
South Carolina to the under 6.5. I'm not buying in the Spencer Rattler coming over and dominating. This is the SEC, not the Big 12. And if you couldn't be a dominant quarterback with Lincoln Riley as your head coach, where we've seen so many quarterbacks roll through there, win Heisman trophies, and get to the NFL and get that big money paychecks, I'm not trusting it here either. You're going under 6.5 there, down there in South Carolina.
DRS not invited to Columbia, where the live mascot this year for South Carolina might go by the name of Cock Commander. No, that is not safe for work. I understand it's a family program. Truly, the live mascot's name, the chicken the rooster, might be Cock Commander. That's how we're going to end out our college football discussion here on a Monday morning following week 0. Donnie Rightside, DRS, the best in the business. Thank you, as always, Donnie, for joining us. Have a great rest of your week.
Fantastic. Look forward to it next Monday. Let's go. Actually, we're off next Monday. Yeah, 2 Mondays from now. How about that?
2 Mondays from now, following the first full NFL Sunday of the year. We round out hour number 1 with the conversation around the scalding hot seat in Lincoln, Nebraska. Up next.
If you want to pick like a pro, you need to be in the know. The future of sports gaming is now, and we take you inside the lines, breaking down all the action and what it means for your bet slip. Turn down the game and tune into Sports Grid Radio. Other networks talk sports talk, but we walk the walk, right up to the window. Sports Grid Radio.
Listen free on the Sports Grid Radio app, iHeart, or TuneIn, or catch us on SiriusXM Sports Grid Channel 159.
The morning after.
Where do you rank the Nets in the Eastern Conference? Are they a top 3 team, a top 5 team? Are they the favorites in your mind?
I think Boston's better than them. I think Philadelphia's going to be a resurgent team. Look for them to be better. And listen, folks, they don't have an easy start. New Orleans, Toronto, Memphis, Milwaukee, Dallas to begin the season. There's too many unknowns with this team. I think you go under 52.5 for the Nets.
The Sports Grid Network. Fantasy Sports Today.
The chemistry that Kelsey and Mahomes have is just so great. He is the longest tenured Chiefs player on offense right now. Like, he is the guy who's been there with Andy Reid and with Mahomes the longest. I think the only pass catcher on the roster who would have caught a pass when Alex Smith was the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs. So, like, that kind of institutional memory for Kelsey, I think he's just locked into 90 receptions, 1,000 yards. I just don't think he can be worse than that.
The Sports Grid Network. The early line.
Paul Goldschmidt is minus 1450 to win the NL MVP award. The question is not whether this guy is going to win the NL MVP. It's can he get the NL Triple Crown?
You know who's number 2? Nolan Arenado on the same team. 25-1. Arenado's not jumping him at this point, so Paul Goldschmidt looks like he locked this thing up.
Only on Sports Grid. Pharrell, Coast to Coast.
I did have a source told me the Bills were not aware when they drafted him in the 6th round. However, they were aware when they cut Matt Hawk. You can only walk up to a certain line and say, okay, they knew that this may be coming, and they still stuck with him anyway. So I think that the fan base is upset about that. It sounds to me as though Matt Araiza and his agent were just hoping that this was going to go away and nobody was going to find out about it, and they were sadly mistaken.
The Sports Grid Network.
Rounding out hour number 1, the morning after live, here to start off a new week on Sports Grid on this Monday on Sirius XM channel 159, the home for Sports Grid Radio on Sirius XM, all across the Spiz Grizz network as well. That's Sports Grid, and I am Ben Stevens. You know where my attention was this weekend throughout the sports watching landscape. Of course, it was on college football, on Dublin, Ireland, and that debut for Nebraska and Northwestern in Aviva Stadium. Again, Northwestern wins outright as a 13.5-point underdog, 31-28. The 7th straight one-score loss for Nebraska. It is a record now, a historical trend in college football, and it all focuses around one head coach. The common denominator in Nebraska's close, heart-wrenching losses, his name is Scott Frost. How much longer does he have in Lincoln? That's what we asked you in Fade the Public. The question was a simple one. The outcomes might not be that easy. Will Scott Frost finish the season as Nebraska's head coach? An overwhelming amount of the public saying no. Scott Frost will be fired before the end of this year for Nebraska football. More than 72% at Sports Grid TV on Twitter. Now, here's what goes into this conversation. Scott Frost was brought back for his 5th year in Lincoln, but his contract was lessened. The yearly salary was brought down, which means that his buyout is not nearly as fiscally harming to the university as it was before. But that all takes place following October 1st. So this first month in September might be Scott Frost's final, but he will be there as Nebraska's head coach. Again, Scott Frost, during his 4+ years now in Lincoln, 15-30 overall, 10-26 in the Big Ten, 6-18 against the Big Ten West, and 5-21 in one-score games. Nebraska is the best team in the country at finding ways to lose. Hour number 2, a playoff focus, up next.